Hey everyone, happy Friday. Welcome to TPUSA Live. Oh, it's my favorite day of the week outside of Wednesday because we got What in the World Wednesday.
Friday's better than Wednesday. Come on, John. We are so excited to be here with you. Isabel Brown and Jon Root telling you everything you can expect on today's show.
Oh yeah, and you know Friday, we're going to get some big news from Jack Posobiec on Human Events Daily. If you haven't downloaded the podcast.
What are you doing with your life?
Come on. What are you doing?
It's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's going to break down all the hard-hitting news that's going on in our crazy world. And then right after that, we got some very special exclusive interviews from AmericaFest 2021. Some of those interviews include Sheriff Mark Lamb, we got Jeff Webb, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, Congressman Burgess Owens. Oh, it's going to be a great day.
We had so much fun recording these interviews here in Phoenix at the first ever AmFest in December. If you weren't there, this is a great chance to catch up on what you may have missed. We also have other content from the conference on our YouTube channel, so you can check in there too.
And it was great hearing from some of them after we had some of these interviews. They're like, this is so refreshing just to be able to like sit back, relax on the couch, talk about what's going on in the world, and really give people the truth. Because AmericaFest, I just felt so patriotic.
It was really energizing, and I think you could feel that even more than our other conferences. Like, you could just feel this tangible experience that everybody was having. And what I really love about these interviews that you guys are going to get to see today is we had such a breadth of people we got to talk to, be it congressmen and women. We had famous comedians like John Crist, we had famous country music artists, and everything in between. So that was really cool.
Yeah, you'll laugh, you'll be inspired, you won't cry. I promise you that.
No, probably
you won't.
not.
You'll feel a lot of emotions.
Unless you just felt sad that you weren't there, and then maybe I guess you might
Exactly.
cry.
And then right after that, we got a brand new episode of The Spillover with Alex Clark. She's going to sit down with fashion blogger Jess Fay. She's going to spill the tea on some fashion influencer world stuff.
Amazing, actually, this secret world of mommy bloggers and fashion influencers. I don't know if you guys have heard anything about this before, but I have several friends who got really big in the mom influencer, fashion influencer community. And then as soon as it came out that they were conservative, they got dropped by all of their brands, all of their sponsorships. It was crazy.
Do you have a favorite one that you follow right now?
I have several favorites. My friend Christine Jurgen is amazing, and she's wonderful in the mom influencer space, but I also personally really love Julia Berolsheimer. She's awesome. She had her own fashion line called Gal Meets Glam. She has 1.3 million followers. Lots of women love Julia, so she's probably my favorite.
I'm interested to know if there's like just this dad fashion influencer.
You should start it, John.
I'm not a dad.
But you look like a Hallmark movie character, so you could like start this whole thing about men fashion influencers. There is this account I follow on TikTok of a young 20-something guy telling guys how to dress, and it's really cool. So there you go. Maybe you could do that.
I'm in. I'll tell you what, I'm signing up. That's what I'm doing this weekend. It's going to be great.
We're working on it.
Right after that, you got a new episode of Politics. She's going to talk about some Britney Spears, Zach Galifianakis, also Freak of the Week.
Oh, I love Freak of the Week. It is such a fun segment on politics. You are going to get all the Alex Clark today, so be prepared.
Oh, yeah. Is there a specific celebrity that you like? I know I've asked Alex this and everybody. Who do you follow the most?
I mean, I don't really follow celebrity things as much as Alex, to be honest with you. I'm much more into like influencers and professional athletes and stuff like that. Yeah. There was a really cool article in the Wall Street Journal this morning about how TikTokers are actually making more money now than some of the biggest Fortune 500 company CEOs. And it was super interesting because their whole take on it was influencers and people who got really famous through social media share more of their personal life than traditional celebrities. And that's why people are buying products that they're suggesting more and following their journey more. So I think that's kind of cool. It speaks to authenticity today, and there's a lot of really cool ways social media is used for that. There's a lot of bad stuff too, but that is a positive.
There's a lot of bad stuff, and obviously celebrities are always going to share their opinion. That's why I'm so excited for this Politics episode, because she talks about Zach Galifianakis, and he says, I think I might have figured it out. I know why President Trump got elected.
Oh boy.
And it's not a Between Two Ferns episode. It's like, this is 100% honesty. This is why I think, and he thinks just because of his celebrity status.
Yeah.
And the way Alex is going to break that down, she'll make you laugh too.
As always, Alex is maybe the funniest person I know, so there you go.
She is. I told her she needs to put together some sort of book with her vocabulary from Politics.
Yeah, I constantly am having to ask her, excuse me, what does this thing mean? I don't know. So she should do that. Maybe do a whole episode on that.
Nice little coffee table book. But it's going to be a great episode and live stream for you today. Coming up next, we got Human Events Daily with Jack Posobiec. See you soon.
This is your brain. This is your brain on socialism. questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily, powered by Turning Point USA. Today's stories in the headlines. First, we just saw the end of President Biden's administration. I'll explain what I mean by that. Second, Ghislaine Maxwell is ending her fight to keep the John Doe names sealed from the Epstein network. Third, Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, vaccine mandates are taking effect tomorrow, January 15th. And then finally, Baltimore prosecutor Marilyn Mosby has been federally indicted on perjury. All this and more ahead, Human Events Daily. It's not so often that you see something like this, where you see a presidential administration not only completely collapse, like a house of cards or a cheap suit, on one singular day. But what's really amazing is that now that we're in the 21st century and we have cameras 24/7, we have social media, we actually saw the collapse of an American presidency in real time, live on television. Take a look.
Yeah. And I'm not sure either. But anyway, I hope we can get this done. But I'm not sure. But one thing for certain, like every other major civil rights bill that came along, if we missed the first time, we could come back and try it a second time. We missed this time. And the state legislative bodies continue to change the law, not as to who can vote, but who gets to count the vote. Count the vote. It's about election subversion, not just whether or not people get to vote. Who counts the vote? That's what this is about. That's what makes this so different than anything else we've ever done. I don't know that we can get it done, but I know one thing. As long as I have a breath in me, as long as I'm in the White House, as long as I'm engaged at all, I'm going to be fighting to change the way these legislatures have moving. Thank you.
And what you see there, it's something, it's diminished. This is the leader of the United States of America. This is the President of the United States. An angry old man yelling at children to get off of his lawn. Joe Rogan put it, he said, what did he say? Biden is like a flashlight, but the batteries are dying, and you're going on a long hike in the woods. So understand where we're at. And USA Today, if you've seen some of the crazy stuff, they wrote that crazy pedophile article earlier this week that we got them to delete, or at least delete the tweets about. They put this thing out, they said, the administration is completely failing in every single one of their agenda items in Congress. Remember, the Congress that they control, the House and the Senate. These latest setbacks landed exactly the wrong time for administration reeling from confusing Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines, supply chain shortages that won't end, the highest inflation rate since the Carter administration, and an approval rating that makes former President Donald Trump look like the most popular kid in school. I want people to understand, the Biden administration at this point has negative political capital. They are desperate. And desperate people do desperate things. Internally, we are told here at Human Events Daily that they are discussing military options in Eastern Europe, exacerbating the border tensions there that have existed for many, many years, decades in some cases, between Ukraine and Russia. Exacerbate that situation. Why? To wag the dog. We are entering a dangerous phase. The Biden administration is a cornered animal. So be on guard. Do not let up your guard. Patriots, have your heads on a swivel, because this regime is lashing out in every single direction. You think that inflation is bad now? You think inflation and spending is bad now? There's a reason that they're going after people now, right? Military retirees and people that, were messing around on text message and calling them seditionists and having the DOJ lash out. You understand now why the Department of Justice is opening up a domestic terrorism unit. They're not doing that to go after actual anti-government extremists. They're not doing that to go after actual people that are committing crimes in the United States. Homicides, we have a pandemic of homicides. Every single major city in this country either hit record highs or is at record highs for homicides in 2021. Nobody's talking about it outside of this program. Why is that? Pandemic of homicides. And yet, is the Department of Justice doing anything about that? Or we kind of any one of these things where we see the federal government come in and help out any of these major cities? Not only is the crime increasing on the streets, you get the homeless crisis exacerbated by fentanyl, exacerbated by the mental crisis that we've got across our cities. You'll walk through the streets covered in syringes and human feces, and you won't actually do anything about that. But you're worried about the people, the grandmas, who were walking around the Capitol building unescorted on January 6th. These are the signs of a desperate administration, and desperate people do desperate things. Well, here's an interesting headline that's come out in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Mediaite.com, left-wing website, left-wing blog. Ghislaine Maxwell ends fight to keep John Doe names sealed. Oh, that's interesting, because I remember when I talked about the Epstein Network names being sealed, that Newsweek and everybody else was running up and saying, oh, Posobiec, you know, that's not what happened. Those names aren't sealed. Don't talk about those names. No, he's conflating this case and that case. Look, I understand the situation. The names of the Epstein Network are sealed. I didn't say that the jury ruled that they should be sealed. My point was that we, the public, have a right to understand what exactly was going on in the highest. I've said this on every single episode of this program where I've talked about Ghislaine Maxwell. I said, look, we need to know who was involved at this thing. Why have they not been charged if they were involved in this? And you can go to Mediaite right here. It says, prosecutors described this as Epstein's pyramid scheme of sexual abuse of minor girls. Okay, if this was a pyramid scheme, then who were the other people involved? Because we can see people like Jean-Luc Brunel, who has been charged, Ghislaine Maxwell, who has been charged. Brunel, of course, was a French model recruiter. He was Epstein's procurement guy from Europe. Then we've got Maxwell, the procurement madam from the United States. What's going on? Who were the people procured for? Who were these girls, these victims, procured for? Who was the pyramid scheme with? Was there blackmail involved in this? Why were these people all putting their money in with Epstein to have him manage them despite no, acumen or background in this? That's what we're talking about. Some of the highest names, the biggest names in Western academia, Western finance, Western business, and even Western government. Not to mention Hollywood, Kevin Spacey. What's going on? Explain to us what's going on. That's why it's important that the names come out, and we know that the names of this pyramid scheme have been continued to be sealed. One of them, by the way, that has come out is, of course, Prince Andrew, who was just stripped of his official title. So now, in his lawsuit against Virginia Giuffre, who is the victim that's been suing him in terms of all this, really one of the first victims to come out and get the ball rolling in terms of all of this, he's got to now face that as a private citizen. Someone who's literally a member of the royal family, the second son of Queen Elizabeth. So listen to one of the lawyers in this situation, Gloria Allred, describe that case and Virginia Giuffre.
The prince is going to be in a world of hurt and a world of trouble, not comfortable to have to sit there and answer questions in this lawsuit, which alleges that he was sexually inappropriate with Virginia when she was only 17.
Now here's the Mediaite story. Virginia Giuffre's request to unseal documents that name names in her since-settled civil lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell, which led to a lengthy and ongoing open records battle. In December of last year, a Manhattan jury in Maxwell's trial returned guilty verdicts. Maxwell faces federal charges under violations of the Mann Act and sexual trafficking of a minor for her role as Epstein's longtime confidant and now convicted accomplice. Depending on what lies underneath the redactions, the unsealed information could make waves inside the same courthouse and around the world. In a legal brief, and this is interesting, filed on Wednesday, Jeffrey requested that the judge unseal the names of the John Does currently kept out of the public eye, in part due to their complaints about how disruptive the media attention would be in their lives. But this is what's very interesting. Maxwell had previously fought against the unsealing of the legal names of the John Does revealed in the still sealed court documents. But a letter from her lawyer, dated January 12th, notes that Maxwell, quote, does not wish to further address detailed objections submitted by non-party Does 17, 53, 55, 73, 93, and 151. So who were those John Does? And the full letter is here. Understand what's going on. Each of the listed Does has counsel who have ably asserted their own respective privacy rights. Ms. Maxwell therefore leaves it to this court to conduct the appropriate review consistent with the order and protocol for unsealing decided motions. You got to understand, when it comes to sealed documents, privacy concerns obviously play a role, but if you've got a situation where someone was involved in the commission of a crime, specifically the crime we're talking about here, child rape, that's something where the court has to take that into consideration as well. Because once that comes out, then prosecutors and from the civil side, attorneys and victims can then take action based on those court documents. So pretty much it comes down to this. Ghislaine Maxwell, she hasn't named names. And I told her, I said early on this program, I said, Ghislaine, you need to cut a deal. Do the right thing. Finally, after all these years, and after so much pain and anguish and torture that you have been at the hands of, turn it around. Do the right thing. Be the person that says, now it all stops. I'm going to flip and I'm going to come out and tell the truth and name the name. So maybe, just maybe, we're getting a glimmer of that. Tomorrow is going to be a historic day for the United States of America, a historic day for our capital, and a historic day in the relationship between the federal government, which many have described as a regime, and the American people, the citizens of this nation, the citizenry of the republic. Do we have a republic where citizens are allowed to travel to their national capital to petition their federal government for a redress of grievances? You might have heard that phraseology before. It's kind of the same phraseology where the phrase human events comes from, like the name of the show. You know, when in the course of human events. Tomorrow, vaccine mandate is being levied on Washington, D.C. According to the D.C. Health Department, beginning January 15th, 2022, specific D.C. public businesses will require all patrons aged 12 years or older to show proof that they have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine before they are allowed entry. 2 doses will be required starting February 15th. Establishments must visibly display signage informing patrons that proof of COVID-19 vaccination is required to enter indoors. You can go to vaxdc.dc.gov. So understand that. If you are unvaccinated, you are now unwelcome in your nation's capital. Now, we've got 2 major Patriot Marches that are set to take place just 1 week from now. So 1 week from today, January 21st, is the March for Life, the largest march in the pro-life movement. And then 2 days after that is the March Against the Mandates. And that's being led by Dr. Malone, by Brett Weinstein, by a whole bunch of people, a lot of speakers. That's going to be the Sunday after the March for Life. So 2 major Patriot Marches. And then 1 week before that, tomorrow, DC is imposing the vaccine mandate. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. Totally nothing to see here. There's absolutely no connection between the two. So here is the full list, and you can listen to the DC Health Department reading off the list of the establishments that you will now no longer be welcome in DC, in your nation's capital, if you don't have a vaccine passport.
So the locations that this mandate covers, where you're required to have a vaccine, are restaurants, bars, nightclubs, breweries or wineries, seated dining halls, restaurants, cafes, museums, hotels, and other public venues, movie theaters, concert live entertainment venues, sporting venues, gyms, fitness studios, hotel meeting rooms, banquet halls, conference centers, convention centers, auditorium, and any other location determined by the director of DC Health.
So if you want to take a seat in a diner starting tomorrow in Washington, D.C., if you want to sit down and eat your dinner at a diner, excuse me, this diner is vaccinated only. Excuse me, this restaurant is vaccinated only. Excuse me, this movie theater is vaccinated only. Oh, you're an unvaxxer? You're unvaxxed? You're unwashed? You're unclean? I'm sorry. Head over to PG County, Maryland. Head down to Virginia. This place, this city, not for you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the message that your nation's capital is sending to you. Now, by the way, Mayor Bowser, who's the mayor here in Washington, D.C., she knows exactly what she's doing because she wants, and she's been doing this for years, by the way, has been moving working class families and poor families out of Washington, D.C. to gentrify it for her developer buddies to bring in rich yuppies on Capitol Hill and Hill staffers to come in and populate the city. And everybody else, everyone who's working class, everyone who's been living in the city for 40, 50 years, the families, you're all kicked out. You're all done. Bowser knows exactly what she's doing in terms of all of this and which demographics are going to be hit the hardest by it. She doesn't care. She wants it. This is exactly what she wants because she wants higher office, and we all know that. Here's what's interesting, though. Very, very interesting. The United States Congress can actually remand any law that's passed by the city of DC, because remember, the city of DC is a federal territory. It is not a sovereign state or a city within a state. What does that mean? That if the leadership of the Congress were to, say, change in about 10 months, then it's possible that Congress could force the reopening of Washington, D.C. Winter Storm Izzy hitting this weekend. We just got the report here in Washington, D.C. We're going to be hit with it Sunday night going into Monday. Frozen rain, wintry mix. You're talking about Arctic winter bombs, Arctic ice bombs from the Northeast, the South, the Midwest. What do? You go to mypillow.com, you use promo code POSO, you can snuggle up in their slippers, you got the throw blankets, you got the quilts, you even got the robes. If you want to get the bathrobes for everybody, go to mypillow.com, promo code POSO. But this next story, ladies and gentlemen, this is really the feel-good story, not just of the day, but of the entire week. Ladies and gentlemen, Baltimore prosecutor Marilyn Mosby has been federally indicted for perjury. Oh, womp womp, the littlest violin. Charges related to COVID-19 financial hardship withdrawal and false statements on loan applications. You know, they say that you shouldn't be happy when, at another's misfortune. But at the same time, when I see somebody like Marilyn Mosby, who is a crooked Baltimore politician, a crooked government official, being taken down this way. You know, by the way, this is like the reason that I say that The Wire never ended, because The Wire just spilled over into real life. Because now instead of seeing The Wire, which was all about crooked Baltimore bureaucrats and government officials and police, now we're seeing crooked government officials and bureaucrats in real life in Baltimore. So, and it's the same really throughout most cities, but Baltimore really is, Charm City, right? Charm City really is just one of the jewels of all of this. But one of my favorite, so Marilyn Mosby, of course, most famously known for her 2015 speech that kicked off the Freddie Gray riots, rioting throughout all of Baltimore. But then just a couple of years later, she got an endorsement by then Senator, now Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's play the video.
When we march and we shout about what we need to do to reform the criminal justice system, we better understand that we got to march and shout with our paychecks and all of the work that we can do to actually make sure that somebody like Marilyn Mosby gets reelected into that office. To not only get convictions, but have convictions. There are a lot of people who are highly critical of her because she heard the voices of the people and said, even if I can't win, I'm going to do the right thing. It's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. She cannot fail, and I know she will not fail.
So what are the actual charges? According to the 4-count indictment, Mosby, by the way, whose husband is the president of the city council, just another wonderful group of people, Mosby claimed to have experienced financial hardship due to the COVID-19 pandemic in order to withdraw from the city's deferred compensation plan on 2 separate occasions. So she claimed that she was experiencing a COVID-19 hardship. She goes out for this loan, and what did she do? Well, oh my goodness, she bought a $500,000 home in Kissimmee, Florida, just by Orlando, by Disney World, and then another mortgage for a $428,000 mortgage to purchase a condo in Longboat Key, Florida. So this is what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. You understand what's happening here? Your cities like Baltimore, where the homicide rates are like nothing they've seen in decades, in 30 years. We talked about the pandemic of homicides, and Baltimore, of course, is one of the top in terms of homicide rate. The officials there aren't worried about cleaning up the streets or taking care of people or stopping the people from killing each other. No. They're all buying homes in Florida. Isn't that nice? Isn't that wonderful? Doesn't that just warm the cockles of your heart? So Marilyn Mosby has been charged federally in this. She should have been behind bars a long, long time ago, along with probably half the politicians in every single city in this country. And that's it for us this week. We're closing out Human Events. Thank you so much again to everybody, seriously, for all your support, for all that you do for us. Remember, our motto to you, be good, be brief, be gone. Be the influence agent. Our message, my homework for every single one of you guys out there and the listening audience, just pick one normie friend, and just share this episode with them. It's quick, it's short, it's brief, and then it's done, and it's going to listen to 2x speed. You get all of the news in just 12 minutes. And by the way, go leave us one of those reviews on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. 5 stars, come on, you know we deserve it. Well, you deserve it too. Today's moment of history before we go. January 14th, 1784, the Continental Congress ratified the Treaty of Paris, officially establishing the United States as a sovereign nation. Defend our sovereignty, because that's what they want to take away. Ladies and gentlemen, you have my permission to lay ashore.
Freedom Seed. Gun rights are women's rights. It's a biological fact that men and women are built differently. Don't at me, leftists. It's the truth. On average, biological men have a greater height and muscle mass than women. So what happens when a large man tries to attack me, a 5'1" woman? I'm tough, but I don't have a lot of options. Firearms can act as an important equalizer to give good women attacked by bad men the chance to defend themselves. It's no surprise then that women are the fastest growing demographic of gun owners. In fact, specifically women between the ages of 18 and 34 are the most likely to become gun owners. So what's the deal with women buying so many guns? Simple, for protection. A 2017 Pew Research study found that nearly 70% of female gun owners cite personal protection as their primary reason for owning a gun. These women get it. Sometimes you need an equalizer to empower good women to take down bad men. I'm Isabel Brown, and you're watching Freedom Seeds. Gun rights are women's rights, period. Don't forget to hit the heart button, share to educate others, and save this episode to add to your arsenal of knowledge from Turning Point USA.
You want to see an example of failed socialism? Go to an Indian reservation.
A lot of the soldiers were very aggressive, so the women did get raped.
Muerte means a place of suffering, dying, starvation, nothing good.
I didn't realize how corrupt things were. I didn't realize what kind of environment we were living in.
We had no running water, we had no power.
They de-incentivize people from, opportunity.
That's why our suicide rate has climbed up astronomical rates. I think that's what I'm also projecting to my people, even if I have to fight you to save you.
that is all the time we have for Human Events Daily from the occupied regime capital here in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. We're now turning it over to the free state of Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona specifically, to the Turning Point headquarters as Turning Point Live continues on the couch. Take it away, John.
Hey everyone, we got a great show for you today. Thank you so much, Jack. Once again, we got some amazing interviews from America Fest 2021. And first off, we're kicking it with Sheriff Lamb.
Sheriff Lamb is a rock star. That is my non-hot take because everybody thinks that for this awesome Friday. You sat down with Aaron Elmore and Sheriff Lamb and you guys talked about immigration. So we're really excited for you guys to hear about this great conversation. Check it out.
Enjoy. Hey, we're back at America Fest 2021 in Phoenix, Arizona, and Aaron Elmore is back. It's so fun working with you.
I know.
I miss you.
The best. We gotta do it more.
Seriously. And then we have another great interview for you. We got Sheriff Lamb here.
Thank you for having me.
Canal County Sheriff. How are you?
Yes, sir. I'm doing great.
No, I was
Thanks
saying,
for having me back.
I've seen you a few times so far, but you didn't have the full getup. Now you look very legit, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to mess with you if I was a criminal.
Well, that's the hope.
Yeah.
Right?
And then what were you up to today? So right now, as we're
So I
talking,
was out here this morning, but went back out to the county. Actually went to church with the family.
Amen.
Roamed around a little bit, and now we're back out here again.
Mm-hmm. And then always people look to you when it comes to immigration. Because we need to have strong borders, and we need to have an America First agenda. But obviously with this administration now, borders are wide open. It's making your job tougher. It's making Americans' lives harder. It's costing us more financially, physically, really, and spiritually with these kind of situations. And we see the crisis at the border, but there's not a lot of people like you that are unapologetically and truthfully talking about what's going on.
Which is surprising to me. Like, there's a lot of law enforcement that understand this, and I think there are more people that are vocal, but I don't know that the mainstream media is picking up on it. And thank you guys for touching on it, because this is not just an Arizona problem, this is an America problem. The human trafficking and drug trafficking that's being perpetrated on the American people right now is off the charts. And we've just eclipsed 100,000 fentanyl overdose deaths in this country. I think Arizona now has more fentanyl deaths than we do COVID deaths.
Wow.
Yet this administration still doesn't want, they just continue to turn a blind eye to it. So it's sad to watch.
So what do you see on a daily basis? I live in Jupiter, Florida, and many people don't know this. Haitian migrants washed up on my beach where I live. And this is not Cubans on a raft. These were Haitians that were sort of planted there.
Right.
And it was terrifying for the community. People were locking their doors at night because you worry about people breaking into your homes. And that's the stuff that people don't hear and see. So what does it look like for the people that are experiencing these illegal crossings every day?
You know, in different parts of the country, it's different. Florida, Haitians, Cubans, a lot of different things. Yuma, I think they've had over 100 and something countries that they've had people that they've apprehended.
Didn't they announce a state of emergency?
Earlier this month? The amount of people that are coming through are 1,000 plus a day. Last month was over 170,000 apprehensions for the entire southern border, which when you do the math is over 5,000 a day. That is a tremendous strain, like you mentioned, on our resources. What it looks like for me every day is we have the I-10 and the I-8 corridor in our counties. We also have desert areas. So while you see on the news Haitians at the checkpoints or people at Yuma checkpoints, the cartel is pushing military-age men from who knows what countries with who knows what kind of criminal background and who knows what kind of drugs they're bringing in. They're pushing them through the deserts into my county and onto the freeways in my county as well.
And they're breaking into homes, from what I've understood.
Breaking into homes. One of my guys had 7 traffic stops the other day on the I-10 and in that area. All 7 of them were human load vehicles. People dressed in camouflage clothes and carpet shoes that had just traversed the desert, just been picked up, and we're trying to get into our communities.
Because the part of this conversation too, a lot of people don't talk about is there's obviously people that are coming from places in dire need, but we are a place of rule and law and order. And you need to do it the right way, because it's also too a slap in the face to people that have done it the right way. There's a lot of people that have come here and said, hey, I love America, but I'm going to do everything I can legally to become an American. But when those borders are opened up, you don't just have those people rolling through. You have criminals that feel more empowered. And this is a human rights issue as well, too, because kids are being trafficked. drugs are being brought into our cities and our towns that wouldn't be there if these borders weren't opened up at all.
If you care about human beings, you should absolutely care about border security, because humans are being abused on a daily basis by the cartels. The women are being raped. The children are being used as pawns and oftentimes abused. Children that they've likely stolen or purchased on the other side of the border. Men are being extorted, forced to carry drugs. What Americans should be okay with that? There's a moral call for Americans to stand up against this. And that includes border security. Whether you agree with it or not, we have to protect those people. We have to protect our communities from criminals, from dangerous drugs getting into them. And we need the federal government to do their job to do that.
And they're not doing it, and it's so
they're
sad.
absolutely not doing it.
Well, and then too, you have the left. It's fascinating to see how they work and try to market these crises and try to tell you, like, if you had compassion, you would see what's going on at the border and you would just let them in. And they try to turn this whole thing into like, oh, all right, we're on the moral high ground and we're going to tell you why it's important just to let these people in, because look at where they come from. Look at the amount of people here. But listen to every single newscast. I think Fox News covered it really well. You got a lot of other great outlets, but I know when you had Bill Malugin out there, and
he's doing a great job.
He did a great job, and he continues to do a great job. These migrants are saying, basically, President Biden and VP Harris invited us here.
Yeah.
And this is why we're here.
They see it that way.
They do.
And
It's an open invitation.
It's not an Arizona or a Texas problem. If an American's listening to me today, listen to one thing, other than the fentanyl and all that stuff, but take home the fact that it's not about Arizona and Texas. Their product, which is human beings and drugs, is not designed to stay here in Arizona or my communities in Pinal County. It's designed to go throughout America. The other day I watched a video, and it was on somebody's site, but it was a line of people just walking past, and they were asking them as they were walking past, where are you going? What state you're going to? Not a single one mentioned Arizona. Not a single one mentioned Texas. A couple mentioned Florida. A couple mentioned California, but the rest of them were Indiana, Nebraska. All these states think that this is a Southwest problem, and it's not. It's an America problem.
So what can we do? The people sitting at home that just want to help or do something to change the narrative, we feel so helpless. What can we do to be a part of the solution and stop the problem?
Grab your guns and your hiking boots. Look, we're not far from that, but no, not that yet. What we need to do is continue to be vocal. We need to tell the stories. There are Americans out there who have lost loved ones from fentanyl, or who have lost loved ones from somebody who came into this country illegally. Tell your story. I know it's hard, but you need to tell that story and talk about the morality of it, like the left likes to try to do, and talk about how this is impacting American lives. They can't argue with that. When you have a mom sitting there talking about how her daughter just died from taking a 15-year-old daughter overdosed on the one fentanyl pill she ever took, that's the stories that Americans need to hear. And then we need to start telling our senators, our congressmen, that this is unacceptable. I just spent 20 minutes on a phone call with Senator Kelly the other day. I didn't love the way the call went. We went back and forth on several issues, and border issues was one of them, when I said, look, don't tell me you're talking to Mayorkas and those people. You need to call out the president and the vice president, because they're the ones that are solely responsible for not doing their job. And they need to be they need to hear it. So Americans, call out your congressmen, your senators. It does matter. It has an effect. And that's where you can help us.
Another important part of this conversation is the left obviously likes to use these buzzwords and very inflammatory words and try to say, hey, if you want strong borders, you're a racist. If you're telling these people they're not allowed to come into the country and not get tested for COVID whatsoever, no one's talking about the health concerns there, but when people try to dumb it down to race, they say, I can't believe that Sheriff Lamb is saying these things because it's a white guy. He's a law enforcement officer that's trying to tell these people from Latin America they can't come here. How do you respond to that?
It's not the critic who counts, nor is it this man who points out on the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's in the arena. Until those people get in the arena with me, I don't care what they have to say. Because I'm the guy that's down there saving Venezuelan families. I'm the one that saves these people that come from other countries. We're the ones that are treating them with dignity and respect. Not them. They just sit on their couch and want to talk about it, or sit from their high perches up in Washington, D.C. and want to critique us. I don't listen to that nonsense, because I know the truth. We're out there every day. We're empathetic. We care. We're working hard to save these people from the dangers of the cartels who have no care for human life. And we're trying to save American families who will be impacted from the dangerous drugs, especially fentanyl, that will get into the hands of their loved ones. And so, frankly, they're not in the arena with me. I don't care.
And then, too, that journey is dangerous for them, too.
Absolutely.
That's when you get invited into this country from the people on the tippy top of power. Yeah. That whole journey, like you talked about, that there's children getting raped. There's more drugs being trafficked there. That it's not just about, hey, crossing those borders and what's going to happen to us. These people are risking a lot, and it's not good for them, even that journey getting to the border.
That's right. I know you have a lot more important people to talk to.
No,
and I
that's
can talk
not
forever,
true. This is so important.
I was down in our helicopter, and we were on the reservation, in the middle of the desert, right at the border. And we found a family, a husband, a wife, a 16-year-old boy, a 9-year-old boy with autism, and a baby girl about a year and a half in a stroller, right in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, that had just been dropped off from Venezuela. All right?
Wow.
So we saved those people. The Venezuelan ambassador just was down with me a week ago, because he wanted to understand how dangerous it was too, so that he can relay the message to the people of Venezuela. We get it that you want freedom, but you gotta follow the process, because it's too dangerous if you don't. That family from Venezuela that we saved said they were robbed, they were threatened in Mexico, and it was the worst 20 days of their lives. And they're fortunate, by God's good grace, that we found them when we did, because who knows what would have happened to them. So that's a success story, but the majority of them aren't successful. And there's a process to follow. We have asylum claims you can make, but you gotta follow the legal process. Make it easy for us. It's too dangerous otherwise.
Yeah, well, I think this is such an important topic, and people at home just do feel so helpless. And I think your words are right. Call your representatives. Try to make a change, because our current administration isn't doing anything, and I know you must feel so helpless. Are there people out there in your community that are giving you the support that you need? Are there charities? Are there people that we can donate to that can make your job easier?
You teed that one up for me. We have a few in our community, but I represent a group of sheriffs called Protect America Now, and you can check it out, protectamericanow.com. Sheriffs standing up for the rule of law, which we see is severely under attack in this country, especially by the left. They're undermining the rule of law. We stand up against bad policies like what we're seeing on the border, and we stand up for the Constitution, the people's constitutional rights, and we're going to continue to do that.
Final question for you before we let you go. If you were able to get a sit down with VP Harris, the border czar.
Yeah, alleged border czar.
Alleged border czar that's not showing up whatsoever. If you had a 30-minute meeting with her, what would you tell her?
Well, I'd probably spend the first 10 minutes bitching at her, telling her how wrong
cackling.
her policies are. But then honestly, I don't want to see America fail. I frankly don't want to see Joe Biden and Kamala Harris fail. Yep. I want to see America succeed. And I'm a good partner. And so I would say stop making this a political issue, because it's not. This is an America First issue. And I would say, please work with us and listen to what our ideas are. We've presented a 16-point plan as sheriffs from the Western State Sheriff's Association, the National Sheriff's Association, that we think is good for border security. I would hope that they would listen to that. But she needs to hear that the reality of the impact their policies have had, the destructive impact that their policies have had. And she would have to hear that first. So,
well, if anybody's going to keep them accountable, I'm sure it's going to be you. You're someone that you talk the talk and you walk the walk. Thanks for everything you do for us.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Sheriff.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, great conversation with Sheriff Mark Lamb. Obviously, he has such a unique perspective where he's from, and I think we need to hear more people like that, especially when we're talking about protecting our borders. He has that perspective, say, hey, I've been there. I know what's going on. I'm a good source for this information.
He absolutely is. We've got even more incredible America Fest content coming to you during this special hour of TPUSA Live. Up next, John and I sat down with Jeff Webb, the founder of Varsity Sports, which if you, like me in high school, were on your dance team or your cheer team, you probably had a little something to do with Jeff's company. We all sat down and talked about entrepreneurship and building your business. Check it out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to TPUSA Live at America Fest 2021 at the Phoenix Convention Center. This has been so fun, having these conversations. We're on Media Row, and you're hearing from amazing speakers. You got country artists pretty much every single night. Isabel Brown's here, and then we got our guy, Jeff Webb. welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here with you guys.
Well, first off, I want to start out with, how's the experience been so far? Because the movement has never seen anything like this before, ever.
You know, having participated a number of times and for a number of years, and you know, being good friends with Charlie for the last several years, the growth has just been incredible. We were talking earlier about the first conference I went to and how it has changed. Not only the technology, which the opening was just like something out of the Super Bowl, right? It was incredible.
I still have goosebumps. I keep saying it's amazing.
Blew my mind.
I didn't see that flyover coming. You know, that kind of digital flyover.
Maybe like a paper plane or something.
Exactly. Like, look out. But even beyond that, just the quality of the speakers, the sheer number of people now that are coming, and what I've heard is could have had a lot more. You know, they had to cut things off. So I think it's just it's really just a sign that not only that the movement is growing and that people are becoming more confident and more passionate, but the turning point is kind of the tip of the spear. And it kind of sits alone in the youth space in particular, but even beyond that now. It's been really incredible to watch.
Jeff, you are an incredibly successful entrepreneur, and for those who may not have seen our amazing award-winning documentary of your business, tell us about what that getting started process looked like for you.
Well, you know, one of the things that I speak on here at Turning Point, that I've got a seminar on this afternoon, is entrepreneurship, and also especially for young people, because when I started my company, I was 24. I was just barely out of college and had another job for a year or so, but just had an idea of something that I wanted to do. And, you know, kind of the concept was to take a traditional school leadership activity like cheerleading and then add all kinds of athleticism and entertainment and modernize it. And, you know, was able to put together good curriculum and, you know, a little bit of capital, and then over the years was able to turn it into something that I think is pretty special. Not because of me, frankly, but because all the great people that worked there and believed in kind of the vision that I had. And I tell young people today, you know, there's the good and the bad. It's a little bit harder in some respects now to start a business when you're younger. You've got government regulations that are, you know, much more pervasive than when I started. But on the other hand, you've got incredible technology. So you can launch a business without some of the expense at the front end. So what it really just takes is the want-tos. You know, it's you want to do, you're passionate about it, and things will generally work out.
So when people are asking you for advice, getting into the workforce, obviously there's a lot of woke corporations. There's a lot of these corporations that are teaching gender theory, CRT, all this stuff that has nothing to do with a lot of these businesses. Do you tell people, like, hey, maybe entrepreneurship might be a good idea because you can be your own boss, so you don't have some sort of hierarchy that you have to call to or is pushing this stuff down your throat? Or do you say, hey, maybe it might be a good idea to start infiltrating these places and change it from the inside? Yeah,
well, frankly, the answer is both. You know, not everybody is in a position to start their own company. And frankly, most people right out of college, I believe, or, you know, even out of high school, if they don't go to college, are probably going to have to work for somebody else unless they have an independent access to capital. So, you know, I think it takes doing both. You know, it takes a lot of bravery in this day and age to be a conservative and to be able to speak, you know, your mind and your positions. You know, so many students, so many of these young people say, you know, I went through that in college or in high school. I finally get out, I'm going into the professional world, and now I'm running into it again, which is true. It's a more recent phenomenon, if you will. But, you know, heard Charlie Kirk say last night, be brave.
Yep.
You know, it's like you're going to be there, but, you know, take the risk to stake out your position. So you've got that. And then I do think, frankly, that starting your own company, doing something yourself so that you don't have to deal with so many of those issues that frankly have nothing to do with making a company great, by the way, all those DEI issues. But by having your own thing, you can do it your way. And so all power to them.
I think that bravery piece is so important and really has defined the conservative movement since controversy really spiked in 2016, a few years ago. And I, for one, really see a lot of parallels between your company and what we've seen in the conservative movement with being bold and courageous and really letting your own light shine. Way back when, I wore a number of varsity uniforms in high school on the Palms team. But do you see that parallel with some of those characteristics from cheerleading and competitive dance to now the conservative movement?
Yeah, I mean, you know, in those days we were kind of blazing new ground, if you will, really. You know, had taken this leadership activity and made it, kind of something different. And the competition's really just provided a stage or a platform to showcase, what young people could do, is how athletic and, what great leaders they could be. But I think what's happening now, I think the courage that's required is even beyond that. I just think, and the ironic thing is, there are more of us than them.
Yep.
And yet, in the positions of power, whether it's educational institutions or now companies, it's tough. They've got the power and they've got an agenda. And again, I tell people that agenda is going to have a bad ending for companies in this country, because we have to be competitive globally. A lot of these other countries are not worrying about those things. They're talking about, how do we make a better product? How do we have better delivery? How do we have better pricing? How do we sell more products? So to the extent that we get away from the core issues of what it takes to build a great company, and we're worried about all these social things that don't make a difference, it's going to hurt our entire economy eventually.
Another thing Charlie talked about was, this is a cool kids club. Like, you're in an arena here where there's about 10,000 people. We have just the best entertainment you've ever seen at a conservative event like this. And the left is trying to tell you, like, oh, we're going to try to just pick you apart. We're going to try to tell you, like, oh, you're the only one that really thinks this, or you're just some sort of conspiracy theorist, or like, that's not the mainstream. Charlie's like, no, this is the cool kids club.
And what's coming?
My question for you is, what do you want people to feel after an event like this, maybe even just from the corporate or like business side of things, as they head into a new year and get revitalized in their patriotism and the power behind, like, hey, we love capitalism. We don't want to be a socialist country. Right. What do you want people to feel after an event like this?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I think, first of all, what strikes me being here is how many happy people there are.
Yeah.
We're hearing, whether it's whether it's COVID or whether it's inflation or all the kinds of things that give people a reason to be depressed, frankly.
Yeah.
You don't see that here. And I think a lot of it is that this is an opportunity for people to come together who are like-minded to some extent, and to really feel comfortable and to feel the power of what change looks like. And I think that change is coming. I think that you can feel it. You can feel the country starting to go, okay, we went really far this direction, not working out so well in a lot of ways, and now it's time to step forward and take things in the right direction. And I think young people here are ready to do that. That's the feeling that I get.
Well, I think it's easy to win when you're the ones smiling and having a good time. So we're so
difference.
excited with that in the movement. And thank you so much, Jeff, for just taking the time to share your story with us today and some advice for the next generation.
My pleasure. Great to see you guys, and good luck.
Thank you.
Keep being happy warriors. Thanks.
Absolutely.
What a great conversation.
He's
I
so
love
great.
that.
I love Jeff.
Especially calling out woke corporations, because it's just infiltrated schools, corporations, every bit of our life. And he's got another unique perspective too, just like you heard Sheriff Mark Lamb a little bit earlier. It's going to tell you how it is and how we can fight back.
Well, and more importantly, how you can turn your specific dream into a reality in this country. Young people aren't being told that enough anymore. You're being told you have to go get a degree, even if there's not a job for you in the job market after you graduate. And so I think having that perspective is so important for the next generation of entrepreneurs.
Exactly. And then you sit down with Morgan Zegers and Congresswoman Lauren Boebert.
Who is great, by the way, from my home state of Colorado. We talked about women's empowerment, about the Freedom Caucus there in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, and of course, the Second Amendment, which Congresswoman Boebert does a great job defending for us every day. We are back on the couch here at TPUSA Live. I'm Isabel Brown, joined by some pretty star-studded guests, Morgan Zegers, TPUSA contributor and host of the Freedom Papers podcast, and of course, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert from my beautiful home state of Colorado. Yes. So excited to have you here. So you were just on stage. The reception was so great. Tell us about the energy here at AmFest.
Oh my goodness. There are 10,000 patriots here who love America and aren't afraid to say it. This is where we come to get built up and energized, but we have to take that message out to our communities. We can't just leave this energy here when we go and say, man, what a great weekend we had. We have to use what we learned and bring that to people in our spheres of influence so we can actually impact change.
You have, in my opinion, been one of the most effective members of Congress doing just that, really being a firecracker there on Capitol Hill and bringing that energy back to Colorado, your home state. What's it been like to really push back against the narrative that congressional members always have to fall in line, that you have to do things the way they've always been done, and really blaze your own trail?
That's gosh, everything that you said, it's just so ironic because on the campaign trail, I was told I would not be effective, that I would be the most ineffective member of Congress, and then to be sitting here a year later, on the sofa hearing you call me the most effective member, I mean, it's incredible. But there is a consensus there that, you just kind of fall in line and do what you're told, and life can be good as a congresswoman. But that's not what I'm there for. I'm there because there was a clear message from the voters of Colorado's 3rd District that they wanted someone to defend their freedoms. They weren't looking for perfect. They wanted principled. Somebody who was not going to waver on what they say and actually do what they said they were going to do, which is the title of a pretty fantastic book by my friend Jim Jordan. A little plug for him there. But so it's easy when you know who you are. When you're not defined by leadership, when you're not defined by mainstream media, and that's not where you get your value from, that's not where you get your strength from. And so that's something that's not very common in Washington, D.C. There's not a lot of authenticity, and I'm just radically me.
I love that so much. Radically me.
I do too. Now, I have a selfish question because we have a podcast at Turning Point that I host on the Federalist Papers, the Anti-Federalist, and the Federalist debates. And we had Paul Gosar, we had Andy Biggs on from the House Freedom Caucus. So a lot of what we talk about is state power. Can you talk about what's going on behind the scenes in D.C., the rise of federal, national level power, and how we can get power back to the states?
Yes. So first of all, we have to get conservatives in office in 2022, or we aren't going to be able to get this relinquish of the federal government. But also look at Governor Ron DeSantis. He is America's governor right now because he has said, forget what Washington, D.C. is doing. I'm doing what's right for Florida, for my state. And that's what we need all over. Federalism is absolutely what it's about. We need to have the states having power and authority. So if your school is teaching critical race theory, teaching children to hate America, teaching children to hate their neighbor, their friends because of their skin color, you could say, you know what, you don't have funding anymore. So you can implement school choice. You can have a voucher system. All of these things that Governor DeSantis is on track to do. I mean, this is so incredible and a great example to follow. But I'm glad you mentioned Paul Gosar and Andy Biggs, who is currently the chairman of the Freedom Caucus. These people have been so wonderful. I don't know where I would be as a freshman in Congress without the Freedom Caucus, without this group of 40-some people who are there for the right reasons, who debate the constitutionality of everything that takes place. And when we can't find the answer in the Constitution, we seek God and His wisdom and His direction. And it's just so wonderful and empowering. And maybe that's where this effectiveness is coming from, because I have so many good people surrounding me.
You have really blazed a trail for yourself in terms of Second Amendment advocacy and rights, first with Shooter's Grill in Rifle, Colorado, and now as a member of Congress. And I think generally speaking in our lifetime, gun rights and the Second Amendment have been one of the most important things under attack for Americans, and I'm expecting that moving forward as well. What can we expect from leadership, from the Freedom Caucus, and from members like you in Congress in terms of defending our right to protect ourselves?
That is always going to be our top priority, is to defend your rights. The proper role of government isn't just regulatory control. It's not keeping you safe in your personal capacity. It's not keeping you healthy in your personal capacity. It's keeping you free. I mean, we the governed give consent to be governed, right? And government derives its powers from we the people. And so we have to bring that back and realize that that's what this is all about. We are elected to secure God-given rights, not to grant them, not to take them away when I think you've been naughty. No, we're there to secure them. And that's what government needs to come back to. There's this idea in Congress that government is God. Government's not God. That's why our founders clearly stated that these rights are derived from our Creator and granted to us by our Creator. And endowed, there we go. I was mixing some lines. There are people right now who think, no, they're endowed by us. Yeah. We allow you to be free. We allow you to have these rights. But the founders made it very, very clear, no, this comes from God. You can't take it away. You can only secure it.
Yeah, so a lot of people look to DC and they think if I change the president, if I change the politicians, things will change and work for the better. But I think a lot of us at Turning Point, and we're trying to tell the students especially here, that it's really the people that have the most power in America. We've just forgotten that. It's our role in this government. That's why we are able to flex our power if we know what it is. What are your suggestions for the students here, for the people here, and for the people of America as we're facing these mandates, this tyranny at a federal level?
Yes, well, first of all, keep speaking out because that is having an effect. This is how we were able to get changes to the National Defense Authorization Act. We in the Freedom Caucus began to message on the terrible things that were in the National Defense Authorization Act, for example, and leadership wasn't going to touch that. They said, no, the Senate will fix it. They'll fix it, and then it'll come back to us. Well, I don't work in the Senate. I work in the House, and I was not going to put a yes vote to something that had red flag law language, that had transgender surgeries for our military, that had vaccine mandates, that had drafting our daughters, that had land grabs in Colorado. So I voted no. Well, we got that message out to the people, and they were furious. They said, this is not what we want. We don't want a woke military. We don't want a department in our military to combat extremism without even defining what extremism is. Is that someone who stands for the flag and bows for God? What is extremism? And so because the American people continued to speak out, we were able to change that piece of legislation and make some dramatic edits to it, which was fantastic. But speak out, and not only that, know what you're talking about. Read your Bible and read your Constitution, so no one can ever deceive you or lie to you. You will know the truth.
You mentioned a few other members of Congress and Florida, of course, with their wonderful governor, Ron DeSantis. There are so many states and individuals doing the right thing and pushing for more freedom in this country. You and I are from a state that is doing a lot of wrong things every once in a while in the state of Colorado. What's it like to be such a freedom fighter in a place where you're so outnumbered by people trying to grow the size and scope of government? And what advice do you have for other members of Congress who might feel the same way?
Well, it certainly makes for eventful days when you are outnumbered. But, you know, I'm not afraid of a challenge, and I'm not going to back down just because it doesn't fit the mold of what everyone else is doing. I'm okay with being rowdy and, you know, questioning authority. Why are we doing this? You know, let's have these conversations. Let's have these debates. And so life is certainly eventful because, you know, I don't just fall in line and do as I'm told. I think a little bit earlier you did ask about the Second Amendment, and I apologize, I kind of got off into something else. But in Colorado, the last session, they passed 6 pieces of legislation to infringe on our Second Amendment rights in Colorado. And next session, they're planning even more. So at a federal level, we certainly need to secure our rights, but we need to make sure that we're electing people at a local level and a state level that won't further infringe on our constitutional rights. You know, look at Australia right now. Gun control is working exactly how they intended it to.
No, it's a shame. I think for me, I really want to know, with everybody frustrated in DC, you have the insider look, you have that perspective. What do you think we need to know about what's going on there? Is it the fact that people maybe tell us on our own side that they're going to do certain things and then they aren't like that behind the curtain? Or is it the left that really is the threat? What should we be paying attention to that we can't really see that you have access to?
Yes, so actually those people who are on our side, that tell you one thing and do another, that's available for you to see because you see it in their votes.
Okay.
And they don't hide it. They may try afterwards to explain the vote and take you down a different trail. But you can see it right there. Go to conservativereview.com, look at members' Liberty Score, and see if they're really voting conservative. And maybe they have a 90%. Maybe there was a couple of votes, you know, that, well, what was this about? And you look into it and question what it was. But the people who are not really doing what they promised to do, they show it with their votes. But right now, the insider view is just how frustrating it is that the People's House is still closed to the public. A family can't just walk in and have a tour, but lobbyists fill the hallways right now. That right there is absolutely shameful.
Wow, how frustrating that must be. But we are so grateful for the work that you do. In the little bit of time we have left, do you have any key takeaways from America Fest? Any last words of advice for our students who might be here about fighting for freedom?
I think we
I
have
love
a friend,
this.
Kyle
Yes.
Rittenhouse, right over
Yes.
there, so there's a lot of excitement.
Yes,
right?
a lot of excitement. And we need to keep that enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But kind of like what we started off with, we can't just get excited over the weekend and do nothing with that. We have to apply it to our lives. So take what speakers are saying, take what the conversations that you're having on the side and see where you can apply that and affect change in a situation in someone else's life and encourage them and teach them what you know. Don't be selfish with what you've learned. Share that with other people. This is preparation time, and that is never wasted time. God has a huge plan for us, and I do believe that He is preparing us for what He has in store for us, so that when we arrive at that point, we aren't clueless. We don't wander or squander the blessing, right? So when we arrive at what He has for us, we occupy that moment in every sense of it. And we aren't occupied by it. We aren't overcome by the situation. We are fully prepared and ready to take over.
I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, so inspiring. Thank you again so much, Congresswoman
Yes.
Lauren Boebert, for the
Thank
work
you.
that you do to support the American people and the people of Colorado. Morgan, thank you so much for joining us, and we are excited for even more here at AmericaFest this weekend.
All right, I hope you've really enjoyed these interviews because it was amazing sitting down with them at the Phoenix Convention Center at AmericaFest 2021. It always feels like I'm back.
I know. It's so fun.
I want to relive AmericaFest as much as humanly possible, and we're going to wrap things up with Congressman Burgess Owens. So he played in the NFL. He's a college football star that's turned into a politician, and his growing up is such an inspiring story of how stop playing victim,
Yep.
be a victor. And I think he's one of the most inspirational people in Washington.
And what makes a true champion. We got to try on some championship rings, which was very, very fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this interview.
What's going on, everybody? We're at AmericaFest 2021, Isabel Brown, and we got a very special interview with you, Congressman Burgess Owens. I want to start with this. So you have an incredible story, and a lot of people now, they want to be victims instead of victors. And that's something we talk about at Turning Point USA quite a bit. And your story, you were only one of 4 selected to be integrated into your high school, one of 4 black students.
Yes.
And then you're only the 3rd person to get a scholarship, black athlete to get a scholarship at University of Miami. But you use that to propel you to this place knowing that America's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It's not some wildly racist place that the left wants you to think. And I think your story is somewhat similar to like a Condoleezza Rice. I know she was telling her story on The View. And tell a little bit more about how people can be victors instead of victims.
Well, it just goes back to old school American way. Being blessed to be raised by a generation that understood that the only way that we actually gain respect, command respect, is through meritocracy. That's what it comes down to. You can ask for it, you can beg for it, but it's actually go out there and work harder than the next guy, take more risks than the next guy, stand up more times than the next guy does. That's when people really learn to respect you. And I just haven't been raised by a generation that understood that. So for me, it's not hypothetical. It's so easy to speak about. To have gone through a time in which you look back and it was not an easy time, but no time really is an easy time. We all have our obstacles. But one thing that came out of that time, segregated community, days of KKK, Jim Crow, segregation, was that we can overachieve and we can outwork anyone we wanted to. So we were taught to work harder, to study harder, to run harder, and to be proud of who you are. Actually, to be so proud that when you succeed, you're reflecting on your family's name. So I understood how that worked. I was blessed to be part of a remarkable family, remarkable community, and I now understand, looking back over the last 60 years, where we went sideways. We allowed the hard left to destroy our family unit. Allowed the hard left to make it so that women are more dependent on the government than they are their husband. Where men no longer feel they have committed to their families because they can be committed to themselves. You turn that upside down with the family unit and we get where we are today. So I'm excited to be just as a warning boy to a degree. I went through it, I understand how it works. I'm so proud of where we are today. And I can let people know, let's be hopeful. That's America. Let's stay hopeful.
Why do you think the narrative of the left in terms of victimhood and always being victimized by your circumstances and your identity rather than overcoming that has been so powerful in our country so far?
Because they've been very strategic. They've been very, it's like little termites. You think about how termites work. You can have a beautiful home structure and have no idea in the darkness of the night in these safe havens, they're destroying the foundation. They've been doing this for decades. We're now talking about CRT. Well, it's been happening for decades. We're now seeing that the idea of trying to get people dependent on the government versus having their own business and thriving. We now see it. 2020 is going to be a really remarkable moment for us. As painful as it was, we as a country have a chance to see now contrast. We now to see what the vision of the left really is. To destroy family unit, destroy business ownership, destroy our connection with our Heavenly Father. So they have had this has been their end game. Our country is built on Judeo-Christian values, which is good values.
Yep.
With good, you have to have evil. And evil is the Marxist, the socialist, the godless ideologies that use misery as a political strategy.
How do you feel like sports prepared you for this arena? Because you played a decade in the NFL, played for the Jets, played for the Raiders, Super Bowl champion, you were a Pro Bowler, and you had some tough wide receivers you went against. You went against some tough competition, but now you're going against tough competition in the political realm.
I would say this, the greatest thing about sports, and I'm going to guess both of you have played around with sports or something.
Yeah.
Okay. It's probably why you're where you are today, because the lessons you learn.
Yep.
You learn how to hustle. What I learned in sports playing for so many losing teams until before I got to the Raiders. And yes, the Raiders used to win football games. I know you guys too young to know that. They used
Just
to
win, baby.
Yeah, just win, baby. But the thing I learned over time is you cannot control the scoreboard, but you can control the hustle. If you understand that and you hustle, what happens is your teammates begin to look at you for what you bring to the plate, your character, the positive attitudes toward winning. And they care less about your color, about your size, it doesn't matter, because everybody wants to win and have teammates around them who feel the same way. That's America, by the way. America's about meritocracy. We're the country that says look at each other based on character, not skin color. That's the generation that came before me. So we have to just get back to basics. Now that we understand that we have an evil ideology that's up against us, that smiles in our faces, that took my community, which was a remarkable committed and competitive community when I was growing up, to where it's turned upside down. It wasn't because of white racism. It was because of elitism, particularly black elitism. When people care more about their power and their position, they care about their people, that's what we get. And that's what we had over the last 60 years in the black community. So we now understand that. The great thing is we can now turn that around just by being aware of what's going on.
The next generation of Americans, Gen Z, is coming into adulthood in a completely alternate reality than anyone has ever experienced in this country. What words of encouragement do you have for them that despite this very powerful narrative, they will never achieve their American dream? They can do it.
Real serious, real simple. Come to Turning Point USA events, period. I mean, it's so cool. It's so cool. And I can't say this enough, because I've always been an optimist. But I've always also known that to be optimistic, you have to figure out what the next place is, what the next pathway is. How do we keep the things that I've been taught and make sure we take this into the next generations? It's because of young people like yourself. You're getting involved, you're entrepreneurial and taking risks. You don't mind standing up and saying this is what I believe in. And you get young people in an environment like this, and they realize, I'm not by myself.
Yep.
That this is something cool about being hopeful. It's kind of nice not being angry and upset, and it's a cool feeling. And you only get that in conservatism, and you get that when you have young people like this coming together and doing this. So I want to applaud you guys, seriously. I've known that Charlie's been working on this for quite a while. It says the power of the dream and the power of passion. When you get the dream, your passion, know your life's mission, there's nothing can stop you. So that's my advice. Come to Turning Point USA, man. You got to understand this process.
Well, we appreciate you working with us, too, and it's great to have people like you that have this unique perspective. Because you have a perspective that not a lot of people have, and they need to hear those stories. They need to hear from someone like you that is not used some sort of excuse to say, like, this is the reason I'm not successful. This is the reason I didn't get this job. This is the reason I didn't win this race, or something like that.
Can I say this, John? The greatest 9 words that one American could tell another, particularly after going through life, going through experiences of failure, is very simply this: if I can do it, you can do it. Each of you guys have your own stories. Let's not hide the struggle. Let's share the struggle, because people need to, that might be somebody, even though we learned through it, there was somebody just might need to hear those words and hear the experience that I can give myself more hope for at least another day. So let's share our struggles and give those 9 words, and we all win in the end, for sure.
Final thing for you, I know you do a lot of work in the community, so Second Chance for Youth. Yes. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Please look up secondchanceforyouth.org. My life's mission for 30 years was to find a way to work with at-risk kids. And working with those kids, I realized maybe I can do something at a different level. That's why politics finally came into play. So secondchance4youth.org. Help us out any way you can.
Right?
Number 4, our kids, once they get that second chance, you're talking about somebody who understands what empathy feels like and the blessings of a second chance. They're going to be the greatest add-on to our country. So let's make sure we help them out, for sure.
Thanks for all you do. Thanks for your support of Turning Point USA.
Thank you, guys. You
Thanks
guys keep it going. Proud of you, really.
Thank
Keep
you
it
so
going,
much.
for sure.
Well, I can't believe that's it. That's all the interviews we have for you today. Huge shout out to Congresswoman Boebert, Congressman Owens, we had Jeff Webb, we had Sheriff Mark Lamb. A lot of great interviews, not only today, but throughout the rest of the month. We're going to show you some of those. It was fantastic. And they give you, once again, a unique perspective on what's going on in the world, how we can fight back, because we got to stop just complaining about things. And we have people, luckily, like these few that are doing a lot to help us.
Absolute rock stars. We have so much incredible content from America Fest. If you weren't able to join us in Phoenix last December on our YouTube channel, so go check that out as well. Have a great weekend, and we will see you Monday.
How much does the earth cost? I'm gonna buy the entire earth.
Every episode of The Spillover, my goal is to have the most interesting conversations and hear jaw-dropping stories from people that you may or may not have heard of before. And you know what world we haven't dived into yet on the show? The wild, dramatic, and cutthroat world of Instagram fashion influencers and mommy bloggers. Today's guest is someone who a lot of you already follow, and there are a lot of twists and turns to her story. For one, this momfluencer literally got pregnant just in case her husband died in combat. Meanwhile, she built her own social media brand, and then the world shut down and life as we all knew it came to an end. You know what moment in time I'm talking about. People were locked inside, they were losing their jobs, and cities were burning down, literally. This influencer, who usually posts her outfits and pictures of her family, decided to take a huge risk and test the waters by posting something controversial about her personal beliefs. And I'm saying controversial because it's controversial to those on the left. It's not controversial to you and I. And immediately, she faced the same intimidation tactics that so many of us encounter every day on social media. She lost endorsement deals, followers, and briefly, the confidence to stand her ground. But recently, that's all changed, and she's here to tell us why and how. We cover love, the stakes surrounding her first pregnancy, the downsides of influencer life, whether or not she'd let her daughter be an influencer, the secret drama behind the scenes between influencers, and how she went from a total social media blacklisting from other people to dining at Mar-a-Lago alongside, well, you know who. Momservatives, this one is dedicated to all of you. Please warmly welcome Instagram fashion influencer, Lipstick, Heels, and a Baby, aka Jessica Fay, to The Spillover. Are you talking to me in your closet right now, Jess?
I am. Welcome.
I love that you're talking to me in your closet. It's so freaking chic. And what did you call it? A cloffice?
Office. It's my closet and office. That sounds like the messy closet.
This is like, I couldn't dream of a better, if for those of you that are just listening, you have to go to the Politics YouTube just so you can at least see what I'm seeing right now. Because Jess, if I could pick like the picture perfect setting for me to talk to my first official IG blogger, fashion blogger, it would be what you're talking to me in, which is so funny. It's perfect.
I love it.
So I have to say, I was telling you off air, but I'll say it again for Conservatives so that they can hear. My best friend Lauren sent me your profile, and she fell in love with you. I fell in love with you. I started following you a couple months ago, and you have the most beautiful house, the most beautiful family. And how many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids.
3 kids, which is amazing. I mean, you're just living the dream. And so I want to know how you and your husband actually met.
Well, we actually met in North Carolina. So my husband is a former Green Beret. So whenever we met, he was going through the Q course. So he was at training in and out a lot. And so we met at a bar, and I was not into him the first time we met.
What was it about him that you weren't into him?
He was very cocky and confident, very full of himself. He still is at the age of 42, but some things never change. But so we met, he went away from training. He came back like 2 weeks later, contacted me. And that was back in the day of, there was only Facebook. So he reached out on Facebook, found me. And then we had kind of started, we went on our first date, and from there it took off. But the first night I met him, I was not into him, but that was in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay. I feel like I can hear some North Carolina accent on you.
It comes out sometimes. Yeah.
So you were married right before your husband was deployed to Afghanistan?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then within 2 weeks, you got pregnant?
Yeah. Well, okay. So within 2 months, we got pregnant.
Okay. Within two months.
Yeah. So then we had our son. The PCS moved us down to Florida, which is why we're here now. He was at 7th Group. It's just north of Destin, if you're not familiar. And so they moved us down here, and we were down here for 6 weeks. So when my son was 8 weeks old, he got sent to Afghanistan.
And you kind of had a mission. This is what's interesting about your story to me.
Yes.
You had a mission to get pregnant. Explain what that mission was and why.
Yes. So we ended up getting married quickly because we knew that he would start deploying. We knew he was going to be moved eventually. So we got married. We actually only dated for probably 6 months before we got engaged.
Wow.
We were married about 4 months after that. We were not together long. When you know, you know.
Everyone always says that, and I famously hate when people say that. As somebody who's still not married, I'm dating, I have a boyfriend, but I'm not married. And so when I ask people, how do you know? And they always say, you just know.
You're gonna know. You are gonna know. Well, maybe not the first date, but
right. So you find him, and you're like, he's gonna be deployed. I need to get pregnant. Why?
Because heaven forbid something happened to him. I'm like shaking thinking about it. I did not want to not have part of him with me forever. So as selfish as that might seem, like I needed to have him with me all the time. And so we thankfully got pregnant very quickly. And so we were pregnant within 2 months of being married.
Did you know that you were pregnant before your husband left or after he had left?
Well, during training, so he didn't actually deploy until Braden was 8 weeks old.
Okay.
So I had already had our son, that's why I started my blog, was because he was deployed and I was at home with an 8-week-old. And while they sleep all the time, I was bored.
You were bored. And so you had this idea, like, what? I'm going to start posting pictures of, what was the first stuff that you were posting pictures of? Was it outfits or your family or what?
It was actually YouTube, which is humiliating. Please no one go find those. And it's hair tutorials.
Humble beginnings. So many people say that they started out on YouTube doing hair tutorials. I should have done that.
Horrible.
Oh my gosh. And so just describe the feeling of, okay, so you have this baby, your baby's 8 weeks old, your husband deploys, because I'm sure that was one of the most, that was obviously one of the happiest times in your life, but also one of the scariest too, knowing that I have this 8-week-old baby and my husband's leaving.
Yes. And I actually ended up having really bad postpartum. I think part of that was due to Ryan being gone. I'm raising a newborn baby, my first one by myself. And so they had, it's a long story, I don't want to get into all of it, but they moved us down to Florida. We were down here for a couple weeks. They sent him to Afghanistan. I did not know a soul down here. So I actually ended up going up to live with my parents back in North Carolina. So as sketchy as it sounds, I was living in my parents' basement, starting a vlog, taking care of a newborn while my husband is in Afghanistan. And like their basement was really nice. Like I had a kitchen, like it wasn't like a sketch, but
I had a kitchen.
I did live in my parents' basement for like 5 or 6 months.
But a new baby and everything. I like that, having the family around to kind of help be there and stuff. I think that's important for a new mom.
I had no clue what I was doing.
How do you prepare for the possibility of raising a baby potentially without a dad? I mean, how do you prepare for the unthinkable of being widowed, especially after only a few weeks of marriage? I'm assuming that you and your husband had those conversations before he left.
We did. Unfortunately, like you sign, like he basically signs his life away to me. Heaven forbid something happen. But I don't know that you can prepare for that. I really don't think that it's possible.
Do military wives have conversations though with their husbands? Like, okay, what do you want your child to know about you if you're not here anymore? What do you want me to tell them? Or how do you want me to raise them? You know, did you talk about things like that?
He did. He recorded a few like little books for him.
Oh my gosh.
And a few things like that, which it makes me sick. They're all on the top of our oldest son's name is Braden. They're all on the top of his closet. But I mean, yeah, you do kind of prepare for those things, heaven forbid. And thankfully where he was, I got to talk to him a few times a week. So that was nice. And I also, whenever we couldn't talk because the schedules for timing were so off, I would write things about Braden on my blog, and he could go and look at the pictures and read about them and stuff to keep up to date on him as well. But he came back and Braden was 7 months old or so, whenever he got back. And then on Braden's first birthday, he was deployed again. So he was gone a lot the first, I would say 2.5 to 3 years of Braden's life.
I've seen those viral videos of families being reunited, after either mom or dad has been deployed. And those always make me bawl like a baby. But what is it actually like to finally see your husband after he's been so far away in these life or death situations? What was that moment for you like?
You're shaking. You can't you can't think. You cannot even you can't explain. Like you just touch their face because they don't look the same that you thought that they looked. Like everything is so different. It's like when they get in bed beside you that night, you're like, is it you? Like, are you really here? It's surreal. But
did you stress about what outfit you were going to wear to see him for the first time after so long?
Oh
because
yeah,
that would be the number one thing for me.
I think it was a really bad outfit too. I can't remember what I wore.
Okay, so
it could not have been cute.
Let's shift gears just a little bit. You have over 300,000 eyes on you every single time that you post something online. What does that level of influencer feel like on a day-to-day basis?
I love it. I mean, I like to be around people. I feel like I have so many best friends. I have people that have never seen their face, but I know our conversations. I have friends online, and it is so fun. It's so fun. I used to do hair. I was actually an educator whenever I did hair. So I love being able to just share hair tips and makeup tips. It's so fun for me.
I can't tell you how many times I hear young conservative women in particular say to me, Alex, I can't speak up about my beliefs because I'm going to lose my job. I'll lose my friends. I'll lose my family members, whatever that is. And you faced the exact same fear. And let's talk about that. When did you first feel like, okay, I think I do feel ready to post things, at least hinting that maybe I'm conservative, but you didn't? So just the first time you thought maybe I want to post something, but you didn't.
So I didn't. Okay, so I never really felt led to post my politics until 2020. At that point, I wanted to, and I did. I got shut down real quick.
And what was it that you posted?
That was during the BLM protest. And so, do you want me to go into that?
Yeah. What did you say? What were your thoughts?
So it was the beginning of June, and it was when all the rioting and looting and everything was going on. And for about a week and a half, I did not say anything. And then Blackout Tuesday came. Do you remember that?
Oh, of course. Yeah. The black square.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm pretty sure, and I'm not exaggerating, I'm the only one of my friends out of 50 plus influencers that did not post it.
What was that pressure like?
Got so much crap. And that's kind of where I got quiet. So I did not say anything. I didn't post it. And I had people coming in my DMs, followers, and not really, I wouldn't even say it was influencers at that point coming in my DMs, but followers were coming in my DMs. Why aren't you speaking up? Why aren't you saying this? Why are you doing that? Silence is worse than you saying what you have on your heart or whatever. So I got on and I basically said what I felt. I do not agree with the riots. I do not agree with burning down businesses. I do not agree with looting. I do not agree with any of it.
Was this on stories or your post?
It was on stories. It was on stories. So basically, I said that I did not agree with the rioting, the looting, the burning down businesses. And I said the reason that I did not post the black square was because I do not stand behind what the BLM movement stands for as far as a Marxist, like it's a communist. I don't want to get into it, but like, right. I don't agree with it.
No, you're exactly right.
And so I get nervous when I talk about it because I literally have like PTSD from the backlash I got.
Well, what were some of the things that Pete, your followers were saying to you in DMs besides like silence is violence? Why aren't you saying anything? Were you responding or ignoring
racist because I wasn't speaking up. I wasn't standing up for BLM, and I'm not racist whatsoever. And so then I actually then the followers ended up DMing and messaging and emailing companies I had worked with in the past few weeks, telling them to cancel me. And I did have 2 companies cancel me. And then I had
name their names. I want to know point blank which brands dropped Jess or discriminated against her for being conservative. But before I do, I want to tell you that if you have a conservative-owned business or brand and you would like to advertise on the Spillover, you can contact our sales team at Turning Point USA to sponsor the show. If you've got a product or business that you think, cute conservatives would use and love, let us know. Just email ads@tpusa.com.
I did have 2 companies cancel me. And then I had
name their names.
Billy Razor.
Okay.
And Mixbook, which I had just finished a Mother's Day campaign with them, and they made me take everything down because they didn't agree with me saying that I disagreed with rioting and looting and all of the things.
That's absolutely freaking unbelievable to me.
It was crazy.
Unbelievable to me. And let me guess, most of the people that were DMing brands telling them you need to drop this girl because she's posting conservative beliefs, do a lot of them still follow you just to troll you and see what else you're going to say to piss them off?
That's probably who was here later on this past fall. I guarantee that's who came back. But I'm sure some people hate follow for sure.
Yes, they hate follow. And I think that they're even more engaged with our pages when they hate us because it's like they like to be on edge and enraged to see what we're going to say next.
Yes, they're waiting for it.
So you don't post a black square. The brands drop you. What did you say to the brands when they said, please delete our post or we're not going to work with you any longer? Were you nice back or did you let them have it?
So 2 of them, the Billy Razor was actually through an affiliate company. So I had to speak with that affiliate company. I did not talk to the brand directly. And I asked to get on a phone call because I wanted to be able to defend myself. I got on the phone call with the girl, and I'm not saying this is not a reflection on the affiliate company. I think this is a reflection on their employee that I spoke to. But she basically told me that she agreed with Billy Razor and that I needed to read some anti-racism books, which was super fun. So then I basically ended it in tears. Honestly, I failed. Like I was in tears. I didn't stand up for myself. I shut up. I actually had to have a phone call with the CBD brand afterwards as well. They didn't end up canceling me, but they wanted to hear my backstory and they let me explain myself. They actually did stick with me for a little while. I ended up canceling it later on just because I didn't feel like it was the right fit, but they did ask me why I followed accounts such as Tommy Lahren and Candace Owens and other right-winged accounts. And I had a little more courage at this point. And I was like, because I agree with their values. I agree with what they're saying. I feel the same way they do. I don't say it on my social media, but I agree.
And what did they say?
Nothing. They were like, okay, I guess, okay. Like, what could they say?
Well, that's interesting, though, the ones that stuck with you and they did ask you, why do you follow these other conservatives? And when you just said, because I agree with them, it was almost like they were expecting you to apologize and cower when you didn't.
Right.
They just said,
I did it.
All right.
But they didn't give me a lot of grief, thankfully, but they asked for the call. So obviously, but we ended up working together for several months after that. So they did give me a chance. I'm thankful for that. But I actually ended up canceling it because I didn't feel like it was the right fit for me.
So the Black Square controversy happens, which so many people remember. That was a huge deal for...
I mean, it kind of happened again this year too, right?
Right. So yes. So the Black Square stuff happens. How many followers do you have before and after that controversy? Do you remember roughly?
I don't remember losing more than 3,000 at that point.
Okay. So you lose some, and then after that backlash, you got scared and you're like, okay, maybe I'm going to back off of politics. I'm not going to say anything for a while longer.
Yes. And it's funny because over the past year and a half, I've had so many influencers who did post that reach out to me, and I basically apologize, which I do not need an apology at all. But they're like, we did not realize how hard you had it by standing up for that. I didn't know what BLM was. I didn't know any of the backstory of this. And they're like, I've deleted my post, or I regret posting it, or now I have all these people who think I feel this way and I don't feel this way.
You're talking about mega fashion mommy blogger type Instagram influencers.
They had no clue what they were posting.
They posted the black square. They regretted it, saw the backlash you got for not posting it, reached out to you and said, I am so sorry. I should have stood by you. I wish I would have stood by your side. And also, I regret going with the crowd.
And a lot of them deleted it. I'm not going to call any of them out, but if you go look, they deleted it.
That's amazing. Do you think that were they posting black squares as conservatives, just like not super well known? Or were they not even political at that point, but then became political over the year of 2020?
Oh, I see what you're asking. No, they were not political at all. They actually still are not. They still are very silent. But they did not know what the BLM movement was. They did not know anything about it. And honestly, to be honest, I wouldn't have really either had it not been for my husband. I had not researched into it. I hadn't looked into it. When I saw that it was happening, I was like, Ryan, should I do this? He was like, absolutely not. And he educated me on everything. So I'm very thankful I had him to do that. Not everyone has that, but
absolutely.
He has my back.
And so how much time had passed between the black square debacle in 2020 and then you deciding, okay, actually, I'm going to start posting about being conservative again and just go full throttle?
It took a while. So I would post so even during the election for Trump, we had so many Trump parties, and I could not in my house, in our community. And I couldn't post a thing. I did not post a thing. I would every once in a while sneak in where we live on the beach. So people would have Trump flags. I would zoom around the beach and you'd catch one, and you couldn't tell that it was ours. So
when influencers do stuff like that and you see a Trump flag in the background or something like that, it could be subtle hints.
Exactly. On our friend's boat, we'd have DeSantis and Trump flags, and I would fan, but you didn't know it was our boat.
That's incredible.
So I did that for a while. But I honestly did not say anything until I got invited to the Herschel Walker event.
And talk about that.
I'm like, I am going to tell everybody I'm going to this. I am excited. I am proud. I am ready. And I was over being quiet. And thankfully, there are so many people coming out now. People are tired of being quiet. People are tired of being asleep. And so many people have led the way that I feel like they've opened some doors to where I feel more comfortable to come out now. And I hope that I am now doing that for other people. But
this political event was held where?
At Mar-a-Lago.
Okay, got it. It was Trump's resort.
Gorgeous. You've been there before, right?
Yes, it's absolutely stunning.
Beautiful.
And there's even I always try to explain to people, and I bet this was hard for you as an influencer. I know it's really hard for me because I like to post everything about my life too, is that there's some parts of the resort that they say no cameras. You're not allowed to post. Yeah. And I was like, no, this is so beautiful. I want to post. And people will yell at you. They'll be like, put your phone away.
Oh, yeah. They're there.
Top secret.
Yeah. The earpieces and all. I'm like, oh.
So you're going to be here. And did you know that President Trump was going to be at this event?
Yes. Yes.
So you're like, I've got to be able to post.
So I hinted. I said, let's say you're going to an event and it's a dinner, very fancy event, and President 45 is going to be there. What would you wear? And I did a this or that. And then I was like, would your hair be up or down? And, I basically did that first. And all the DMs were like, oh my God, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And then I had a few I would lose my appetite. I wouldn't go. I'm like, well, good for you. I'll eat your food.
Right.
So I hinted at it there. And then I didn't really say much. I think I might've said maybe one more thing about it, but I didn't talk about it a lot. So then we go, I record the flight, Mar-a-Lago where I could, just the pool area, basically. My mirror selfie in the bathroom. And And like the dinner, the place setting has, you know, the Herschel cookies, the Trump cookies, all the things. I posted several people speaking. I posted Christian Walker speaking, Tom Glavine, Don Jr., multiple people speaking, just like little snippets of it. And then we leave, nothing happens. Like no one really says anything. If anyone unfollowed me, I didn't really notice. And then I get home and I talk about the whole event and I explain to them, like, I don't have my photo. You can't have your phone when you're with Trump. I'm waiting on them to send me my photo. And then I explain like the whole, like, you only get one click, like heaven forbid your eyes are closed or like you didn't suck in for that 5 seconds. Like your photo's ruined.
Yeah, absolutely. And were you there by yourself or did you bring your husband?
My husband was there, and then 2 of our really good friends, Brittany and Brian Kelly, and then we were there with Herschel. So the picture was Herschel, Brittany, and BK, Trump, myself, and then my husband.
Is she an influencer too? That name sounds familiar. Am I just crazy?
Her husband is Florida Georgia Line.
Okay, so, that's how I know who that is.
She owns Tribe Kelly. She has a clothing line, but she does do some influencing as well. Yes,
got it. Okay,
but she's one of my good friends. So we were there with them. So they're all in our photo. So I'm like, the fact that like all of our eyes are open is amazing. But anyways, so I get on stories. I tell them the whole event. I tell them how it was started with prayer. Like it was such an amazing experience. Go into the whole spiel. I get a little hate or whatever, but nothing bad at all. So at this point, I've at least touched on it 3 times because before, during, and then after. So then when I posted the photo and like all of this craziness started happening, I was like, what is going on? I've given everyone like such a fair chance. Like, how are you shocked? So as soon as we got the photo, it was about a week after the event, because I guess he has to approve it before. So we got the photo, and within like 10 minutes of me getting it, that sucker was on my feed. Like,
and what did you say in the caption?
I said, caption this, because I first typed out this really long, mushy gushy post, and I'm like, this sounds so stupid. So I deleted it, and I was like, I'm just gonna let everybody go at it. Like the photo says enough on its own. So
and he's so tall, isn't he, President Trump?
He is the best. Yes. So they gave us like this whole spiel, like right before you go through like 10 people before you get to him. And they're like, you know, introduce yourself. He's you address him as Mr. President, this and that. And so I walk up there and I go, oh my God, I miss you. Can I hug you?
Did he hug you?
And he gave me the biggest hug. He was literally, I like almost started crying. I'm obsessed.
Oh my gosh.
I love
so
him so much.
That's
he
precious.
Was so sweet. So sweet. We only got like a whopping like 1 minute with him, but like he was amazing. And then Herschel was there the whole time. He got to like hang out with us and ate dinner right beside like the table right beside us. But so when I posted it, I was so shocked. And I do think, so I did lose 11,000 followers the day that I posted that.
Wow.
Within 24 hours. I actually think I lost more than that. I think I lost probably like 13,000 plus, but I also think I gained between 3 and 4. So give or take, I think I evened out between 10 and 11 gone. And so I don't know that, but if you go read the comments, I haven't deleted any comments. That's good for engagement. You can go let me have it. I have thick skin. Like, 100%. Let's go. Yep. You're just increasing my engagement. So I left every comment up there. So if anyone wants to go have a heyday, there's this popcorn eating reading. But
well, the best part, the juiciest part, I will say for Cute Sir is if you go to Jess's page, which is at Lipstick Heels and a Baby, and you look through the comments on her Trump picture, you can see a lot of positive comments from other influencers that you definitely follow. And I thought that was cool. So were some of those people also the people that had told you before, I regret not sticking up for you, and so now they had a chance to stick up for you again and then did say something positive?
It's funny you say that, because no, Well, so a lot of the girls that said that actually sent me DMs, like, because I shared the photo from my feed into my stories, and I got like the clapping emoji, like, you go girl, I love this, all of the supportive things. But I went and looked, not one of them liked the photo or commented on the photo. So the ones
same people that said, I wish I would have
yes.
stood up for you.
And those are the ones that also all posted the black square. The ones that commented on it have been so supportive. at least for the past year. Like, and they're obviously not as scared, but a lot of those girls, so some of those girls are some of my very best friends, and they actually got DMs from people from that post saying like, how dare you like a Trump photo? How dare you comment on a Trump photo?
And what
so they started getting DMs too. Like one of my really good friends responded. She was like, how dare you come at me for supporting one of my best friends?
Hell
like,
yeah.
Like screw. Sorry, I don't know if I can say that, but like, screw you.
Yes, no, you can absolutely say that. And yeah, screw them. I'm so tired of that stuff. And also the people that like announce that they're leaving in your comments, like I'm unfollowing. Great, this isn't an airport. I don't need you to tell me when you're, coming and going.
Departing.
Yes.
Right.
It's so annoying. And people that think like that we really care that much. Like I don't. I post, I've really gotten over recently just on my personal page, the amount of likes or comments. I just post what I want to post, no matter if it's stupid or if it's aesthetic or whatever. I just do what I want now. And the people that want to be there will be there. And if they don't, they don't. And you know what? They start to realize after bugging us for so long, like, how dare you post this? How dare you believe this? When we don't give in, they get tired of it because they're like, well, they're not going to change. So yeah, I guess I'm just going to stop DMing them.
How freeing is that? It's like such a weight off your shoulders.
I really do not get hate that much, hardly ever anymore, just because, this is what I do for a living, and I think most people are just used to it.
Yeah, I can't wait to be at that point.
You will. This is just the beginning.
Just coming.
Because this picture, the Trump stuff, you just posted that, a month ago, correct? In December of 2021?
Yes. First week of December.
Yeah. So, this is really the start because that's you really leaning in. And so you lose some followers. Any brands?
No, I'm shocked. None. And some big CEOs watched it. You could, because when they have the check marks and everything, they always pop up to the top of your stories. You can see it no matter how many people watch them. And didn't hear a word. I was like, oh.
That's great. Okay, so looking back on the Black Square stuff, do you feel like you were canceled or it was just a hardship that you ended up going through?
I don't feel like I was canceled as much as some other people have been. I definitely had it easier because it was just a few brands, but it still was enough to take away my confidence in speaking. But I honestly, since like the past few months have been so freeing. And if you I have a highlight on my story and it has the whole Mar-a-Lago highlight. It has where they can go watch exactly what I said afterwards, what I said in response to why I posted the Trump photo, why I support right side. And so they can go see all that. It's still all up. And I left it up there for a reason because I still do have people message me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you would do that. You have a daughter. How can you support him? And I'm like, so I left it there for a reason. I want people to be able to hear what I have to say. But it's so freeing because now I don't feel like I have to hide anything. Like when we're on the beach and our friends are flying a huge Trump flag in 2 years, I'm going to show that thing. Like, let's go.
Do you think that your fear after the initial pushback of the Black Square stuff, how you went through a pause there, if you're like, well, I'm going to take a break, I'm not going to post anything political for a while, and then influencers now that are terrified to share their conservative beliefs, do you feel like those fears for influencers are rooted more in the fear of being unpopular, being othered and outed in that way? Or is it more about losing income, that they're so scared to share that they're conservative?
Are you like why they don't share?
Right.
I think it is a little bit of both. At least in my case, it was. Mine was actually more so income I was worried about because like this is my livelihood. This is my paycheck. And just like some people can't speak in their office, like I get it. Like sometimes some things don't need to be said. And I fully agree and understand that. But at the same time, this is America. We need to have freedom of speech. And that is so important. And if we do not stand up now, our kids are not going to be able to stand up.
Do you sympathize with your influencer blogger friends who are still terrified to post that they're conservative even when you know that they are privately? Or are you kind of sick of it and like, you need to buck up, Nancy, let's get this show on the road?
Buck up, Nancy.
That's kind of how I feel too. I mean, did having to be silent there for a minute really impact you emotionally at all?
Yeah, it made me a little angry. I yell at the TV a lot.
The double standard too of like, why do I have to be quiet and everybody else can't?
Exactly.
Out of all of the different types of influencers on Instagram, which type do you think is the worst?
What do you mean?
Just like the type of Instagrammer that bothers you, this type of blogger.
I would say the ones who are one thing on screen and another off screen.
Explain that. Like, what have you
You
seen?
meet
You don't
a
have to
lot
name
of
names, but
people. No, yeah, well, I can't do that. I'll really be canceled. You go to a lot. Well, not as much lately, but you go to a lot of events as an influencer. New York Fashion Week, Miami Swim Week. You meet people at all of these events, and it's not so much that like some are really shy in person and not on Instagram. I'm not talking about that, because I know that it's completely different to talk to someone in person versus when it's just you and your phone in your bathroom. It's completely different. I'm talking about people who are huge conservatives that online, they do not show that. They're hiding who they are.
Are
And
there influencers?
I know it.
But Jess, are there influencers who actually lie and post liberal talking points but are conservative, or they don't go that far?
I don't know, because now with the mandates, I don't know, because there are a few people who I'm actually shocked, because I did think that they were conservative. By speaking to them, I've met them at multiple events. And then, for example, one of them had Fauci on her. She did an interview with Fauci on her Instagram. I can't even talk about it. I was like, what just happened?
Aren't people sick of this guy? Why would they want to watch that?
I was really shook, but so there's that. But some people, I don't know. I would just say people who are not authentic. I try really hard to be the same person online and offline. And I do think that any person in my life, any person that's met me can agree. Like, I'm the same person. I'm a little crazy, a little loud.
What are the biggest misconceptions about being an influencer in the influencer life?
People think that you're like conceited, that you're really into yourself, and it's really not that way. I know so many girls who are so lacking self-confidence, and people think, like, I don't know why they think that. I guess because you're like always looking at yourself talking on your phone. But it's not that way at all.
I think what's really juicy, and I'm sure that you've seen this or heard about this, a lot of influencers have been quitting lately, like quitting their Instagrams or just dipping. Like, they've just not been heard of for a few months there. And, some of it is, I think it is like the cancel culture type stuff that they're sick of. But also what I'm seeing a lot of influencers complain about lately is just the algorithm changes on Instagram, how everything now has switched from, focusing on like pictures and videos to, regular videos to now everything needs to be reels, or we're not going to promote your page. And, these are all things that on a daily basis with my daily show Poplitics, where I cover pop culture from a conservative perspective on Instagram, these are the types of hoops we're constantly jumping through. Okay, how are we going to grow our page now with all these changes? It's so frustrating. And so a lot of people are just dipping. Have you heard about that, or why influencers are starting to quit? Because a lot of people are like, where's my favorite blogger? She's just missing.
I have heard about that. I think some of it is people are burnt out. I mean, honestly, but the algorithm does suck. It really is bad. And I have a management team, which I think most influencers do. And so they're obviously always trying to get you need to move your content to a podcast. You need to move your content to a YouTube, to whatever. And I think it is exhausting, really exhausting. I've seen a lot of like influencers taking breaks lately, taking like a week off, 2 weeks off. I think I have seen like two people. I have seen like a home blogger leave and someone else, but I think that maybe they're burnout. I do think the cancel culture is exhausting. I mean, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So
what is it that burns people out? Is it just the constant need to come up with some new content?
Yes, because if you are not on your stories, if you don't have a new story going every hour and pushing yourself back to the top, you're buried. So I think a lot of that is the algorithm. I think some of it is oversaturation. It is exhausting.
There's this really popular influencer, Naomi Davis. Do you know who I'm talking about? What is it? Taza?
Oh, okay. I didn't know her real name, but yeah.
Yes. Okay, so this was the craziest thing to me. I don't know if you know this, Jess. So she moved, she has like 5 kids or something. Her and her husband and her 5 kids were living in a New York City apartment for a long time. During the pandemic, her family decides they're going to move to Arizona. They get all this criticism. People, they like get in an RV and move to Arizona. And all of her followers say things like, you're spreading your germs all over the country. And so a couple months ago, that it was so bad for her since then. And that was, now a while ago, but it was so bad for such a long time that back, I believe in October was the last time she posted. She hasn't posted a story. She hasn't posted a feed post. She's vanished. Just done. Her page is still there.
Checked on her?
I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming, I'm hoping her friends and stuff know where she is. It seems like maybe she's just done or taking a break. But like, isn't that crazy? I mean, I didn't know if you'd heard about that and like what the reason could be.
I remember her doing the whole Arizona thing. Now that you say that, I completely forgot about that. I had no idea she disappeared.
Yes, go look at her page. It's freaky.
I don't know what they do for income at that point. Like, what is your job? What do you do?
Maybe they just made enough and they just said, I don't know what her husband does.
Good investment.
Yeah, and they're just like, we're done.
That money.
Or maybe she'll pop back up and she just wanted to take a break through the holidays, but she has been MIA. So, I mean, if an influencer decides to up and leave like that, do you think that they owe their followers an explanation of what's going on or no?
I would personally give them an explanation. I don't know that everyone would. I do. I love my people. Like the ones that are still there, I love them. So I couldn't do it. I couldn't leave. I'm like, I just miss you guys. Like, it is so fun for me to get on there every day and hang out. Like, I literally am so blessed to call this my job.
Do you ever worry about your kids someday growing up and being like, whoa, my whole life is documented?
Not about that.
I had noticed.
I do try to be respectful. Obviously, I don't like it when people post their children doing something embarrassing, like farting on camera or something. Like, that's weird. Like, I would never want to embarrass my children ever.
Well, out of nowhere, Amber Filler-Up Clark decided she's not showing her kids' faces anymore, and that has been in the last few weeks. And she's always posted them, their whole lives, and they're quite old now. I mean, and
everyone knows what they look like.
Everyone knows what they look like, but now she said, "I'm not showing their faces anymore as they grow up."
That's like Kristen Cavallari.
Yes.
Which I get it. No one knows what her kids look like.
Nobody knows what Kristen's kids look like. And she posted something recently and she got some heat for that because it was like a picture of her posing with the camera, but she made all of her kids turn around and they said that this is so rude and terrible for you to do to your kids.
Well, obviously she took a normal photo before. That's just not the one she posted. I respect her. Like, honestly, I think that's fantastic that she does that. If I was at her level, I wouldn't it's way too late now, but like if I was at her level when I started, which basically she was, I respect the hell out of her for that.
Allie Stuckey is another conservative who
yes, I love her.
Yeah, Allie doesn't show her kids' faces either. She doesn't even say their names. I don't even know what her kids' names are.
I honestly don't know if I knew she had kids.
Yeah, she is.
That's good.
She hides them because I think she's worried just being conservative, and a conservative commentator.
Absolutely.
With death threats and stuff, something could happen to her kids. But I plan, for the record, one day, if God willing, I have kids, I'm showing them. I've already decided
I'm gonna show them babies off.
I'm showing those babies off. I've been like so excited for that time in my life. Since I've been a public figure, all I do is talk about I can't wait to be married and have kids one day. So like, you better believe it. Once that happens, I'm going to show it. Oh, I saw something that I wanted to ask you about, which made me laugh out loud. You went to SantaCon and started a Let's Go Brandon chant dressed up as Santa. That's hysterical.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever taken the Enneagram test?
Yes, I have. What are you?
An 8, which will an 8 wing 7, which will explain that whole thing. I am very out front.
I took it. I don't love it anymore, but I have taken it. I don't even remember because it was like one and done, and I don't even remember what I was. But I know that some people are obsessed with that, so they'll definitely know what you're talking about. I mean, so we'll play a clip here. what made you start that chant?
Okay. So we live on 30A. And if you've ever, we live in Florida. Florida is very free. We have a great governor. We do not have mask mandates. We do not have, it's just great. It's great. So when you start a chant like that somewhere else, you may not get the same response. When you start on 30A, the entire bar joins you.
That's so fun.
So I'm fed up. I am so sick of people telling me that you can't go to events. You can't do this. You can't do that. I'm going to go and I'm going to have fun. It's not a super spreader event. We're having a great time and I'm fed up. And so I just felt like putting it.
I also love that you're a mom and you're still making time for yourself and your friends and going out.
That's so important. So important. If you lose yourself, I'm such a better mom when I have free time, whether or not it's out with friends, going to the spa, taking a bath, taking a nap. Like when I have my time, I am such a better mom afterwards. It's only fair to your kids to have time for yourself as well.
Would you say that video and coming on the spillover, it kind of just proves how far you've come and feeling confident enough to rep your conservative beliefs publicly?
Oh, I'm here, baby.
I love you. I want to party with you. I'm coming to 38.
Wait, I'm doing dry January though.
So gosh. All right.
February 1st.
Okay, February 1st. I'm coming to Florida to party with Jess.
Let's party.
So people that don't follow you already on Instagram, are you more of a fashion blogger? Are you more of a mom influencer posting parenting stuff, lifestyle stuff? Just what is your page?
I would say I'm majority beauty. So hair, makeup, that is what I love the most. It's where my passion is. I used to be a hairstylist. I love it. And I feel like I do have a lot more to offer there. I absolutely love clothes. And I do try on sessions, but I would say I'm more beauty within makeup and hair.
What is it going to take for you to convince some of these other big influencer friends of yours that we all follow and love to also come out and own their conservative beliefs?
I'm trying, man. I mean, I have a group text with some of my very best friends, and it is 5 influencers, and 2 of them are pretty outspoken, as I am. The other 2, I love them. They're still very scared, very shy. They are the sweetest girls in the world. We're working on them. They're almost there. But then I have a group of other friends that I'm close with, but not as close with. And they have 1 or 2 in their group that really speak out and the rest of them kind of hide. But it's funny because there's multiple group chat, text groups of conservative influencers that we all just bounce off of each other and support each other. Oh, I'm going to post this. Let's see what everyone says. Back me up. And so we're working on it.
I love that. And I think that your boldness and your unapologetic bravery is going to go far in this next year. Them just seeing you and you being an example of that, I think is going to be so inspirational for them. And just, people standing up in large numbers works. And so hopefully you're, maybe one of the first now, but you won't be one of the only ones in the next
hope not.
few years. So let's all support Jess and tell them what your Instagram is again.
It's at Lipstick Heels and a Baby.
Lipstick Heels and a Baby. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on the Spillover.
Thank you so much.
If you're asking me, I think Jess might be the most relatable guest that I've had on the Spillover yet. Somebody I could totally see myself being friends with in real life. It just felt like I was talking with a girlfriend. And you know how she called out some brands in this episode who discriminated against her for being conservative? Here's something really neat that Jess agreed to do for you. I told her that every single day I get asked what brands people should support that are conservative. You guys always are asking me, who are you shopping with? Who supports our values? So Jess said if you DM her and ask her, she will give you a list of a few brands that she works with that are supportive of free speech and conservative values. So I am very excited about that. I hope that you are too. Also, did you happen to watch the politics story on Instagram last week? If you don't know, I host a short daily show on Instagram that covers pop culture from a conservative perspective. It's like if E! News and Fox News had a baby. It's all pink and orange. You can't miss it. Anyways, Right after I posted last week's episode of The Spillover with country star Ray Lynn, I told you to go leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, everybody at one time. And guess what? The Spillover jumped up on the charts, and we made it into the top 120 of society and culture. Woo, 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 woo. Yes! So my goal is to always make the top 100 each episode. And that's, what we're trying to work towards this year in 2022. And this podcast is free. Okay, it's not a Patreon or behind a paywall. A lot of conservative brands, media brands and stuff, they're like, hey, it's $10 a month to listen to our show. I'm not asking you for any monies. I mean, if you want to give them, you can. We are a nonprofit, TPUSA.com. But the only thing that I ask that you do is to leave a 5-star review every time you listen to The Spillover, to share the episodes to your Instagram stories if they resonate with you. You don't have to do every single one, but if you liked it in particular, please share it. Make sure that you have clicked the subscribe button so that the new episodes automatically download to your phone. I have some A+++++ guests lined up for 2022. New episodes drop every Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific and midnight Eastern on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you can even watch the episodes on Politics' YouTube and TPUSA Live at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fridays. See you then for more tea spilling. I'm Alex Clark, and this is The Spillover. Love you, mean it. Bye. Big dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette. Yeah. Ride around the field with a stick all black. Try with a stroke, but we ain't with all that. Yeah.
What up? Jon Root here. Coming up next on TPUSA Live, tune into the newest episode of Politics, where host Alex Clark tells you which of Hugh Hefner's ex-wives says modest is hottest, what celebrity's daughter is saying gender is whatever, a pop culture rewind, and so much more pop culture without the propaganda, next on Politics.
I recorded this girl in my class that always has crazy outfits.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. All the people in the world, what is the likelihood of jumping out of my life and into your arms? Baby, I'm just losing my mind. Is this trouble?
Main character vibes. I sense a movie franchise inspired by her. They could call it Legally Brunette.
All those opposed to chafing, please say aye.
A former playmate and wife of Hugh Hefner says she has removed everything fake from her body and is done dressing sexy and posting sexual pictures on Instagram. The NCAA just changed the definition of what juiced means, and it's gonna make you want to bang your head into the wall. Reese Witherspoon's daughter discusses her sexuality, and I'm convinced every straight young person is just making things up to fit in. Plus, I listened to Bob Saget's last podcast he did last week, and in it, he talks about his pedo jokes. Now, who was right? The people calling him a pedo or me? I'm Alex Clark, and this is Politics. According to E! News, Hugh Hefner's third wife, Crystal, shared that she was suffering internally while posting not safe for work pics for others and is ready to live for herself. She said, modesty is what empowers me these days, and modest is hottest.
It's diapered the dog for modesty.
Now than ever before, Crystal says she feels more authentic and vulnerable, and that for over 5 years, my account has shifted from not always safe for work posts to my real safe for work life, the real me. I was living for other people before to make others happy, suffering internally in the process.
I'm just tired of feeling lonely.
Obviously, posting sexy pics helped her gain a lot of following on Instagram, which she acknowledged. I'm not perfect. She wrote, in short, sex sells. I don't know whether I felt empowered by dressing scantily clad, showing cleavage, etc., or if I just felt it was expected of me or what. But now I can confidently and 100% proudly say, modesty is what empowers me these days, and because it feels so much better internally, it will probably be this way for the rest of my life.
Why are you naked?
I thought you'd like starting off the day with a feel-good story like this. And also, doesn't the story remind you of another supermodel or famous person who always posted really naked pictures or sexy pictures on Instagram and then said, you know what, actually I feel exploited and I regret this? Yeah, Emily Ratajkowski.
Something a burglar would not want to see when he breaks into a house. Right.
Naked grandma!
Naked, huh?
Get ready to want to pull your hair out. The NCAA is changing the definition of fully juiced to, get this, include athletes who have tested positive for you know what in the last 90 days. So even if they are positive, they are still considered immunized and will receive the benefits of a fully juiced athlete. What?
I think I done just got mad.
How about we include everyday citizens who were exposed to the you-know-what also fully juiced? They were exposed, they lived, they're better for it. How is that not a best-case scenario?
That's what we've been saying.
What about all the athletes that had previously been sick but were still forced to get juiced against their will? Bygones be bygones, I guess? Reese Witherspoon's daughter, Ava Philippi, who looks exactly like her, says, and I quote, "Gender is whatever." That should be Gen Z's slogan.
He has such a way with words.
Ava is 22 now and was asked, do you like boys or girls, on her Instagram story, even though she's been dating fellow UC Berkeley student Owen Mahoney for 2 years.
Why would you even ask that?
Ava responded to the question by saying, I'm attracted to people. Gender is whatever.
It's so edgy.
I'm starting to get the impression that if you're a straight, white Gen Z girl, you just say stuff like this to gain clout on social media. God forbid anyone is just straight anymore.
Well, I don't understand why you're not attracted to me then. Because when you weren't attracted to any girls, it was fine. Whatever, you can't force sexuality. But now you're a raging lesbian and you're not interested in sleeping with me? This is unacceptable.
Hey, it's me, just your favorite pedophile, checking in.
What? How could you say something like that?
I'm joking. I'm saying that because the Warlocks on Tuesday said I must be a pedophile because I said there was no evidence Bob Saget was one himself. Everyone was screaming about how Bob's super dark stand-up jokes indicated that he must have been a pedophile. Well, guess what? I went back and listened to Bob's last podcast, which he just posted last week, and I was shocked and very excited to find that he talks about these jokes that he used to make. So let's see who was right.
I'm connected.
Yeah.
I'm honest. I've slowed down. I'm not doing the joke about pedophilia that everybody was doing because it was making fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
But today it reads horrifically, and I'm not a guy that wants to trigger anybody, and so I think I'm in a good place.
I rest my case. Also, I'm always right. Don't forget it. On Thursdays, we take a step back in time to see what happened this week in pop culture history. And I actually just have one thing that I thought was interesting from this week, but I know it will have you in your feels, so let's see what it is with the Pop Culture Rewind. This week in 2001, Lizzie McGuire premiered on the Disney Channel, and life was never quite the same. This was about a 13-year-old and her best friends, Miranda and Gordo, as they deal with a brand new teen crisis every day. Usually, we knew what Lizzie was thinking because she would just say it, Queen. But on the occasion she couldn't, her animated alter ego did. And from that show, we were all gifted the Lizzie McGuire movie, a pop culture classic that made 8th graders everywhere think that the Roman Colosseum could be, in fact, a concert venue.
Ooh, it's even grosser than I thought.
Of course it's gross. It's where the janitor keeps his bucket of throw-up sand. Whenever a kid around here throws up, that's it right there.
I swear, Kate Sanders spends like all of her time just thinking of ways to make me miserable.
I don't think that's true. I think Kate Sanders spends all of her time thinking of ways to make everybody miserable.
And that's what happened this week in pop culture history. Tonight, a brand new episode of The Spillover drops on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at 9 p.m. Pacific and midnight Eastern. This guest is for all of you who are big fans of fashionista bloggers and momfluencers on Instagram. Ooh, who could it be? Show your support for Poplitics, the first and only pop culture show in the conservative movement, by tapping the heart before you leave. Do you know people who are definitely straight but claim they're not, even if they're in a straight relationship? Do you think this is just a way to look cool on social media? Also, I would love to interview Crystal Hefner on the Spillover about her journey, her transformation, and of course, the stories of living in the mansion and being married to Hef. I tried DMing her, but she doesn't accept messages from people she doesn't follow. So if you were inspired by Crystal's story and you want to know more like I do, thank her in the comments and then ask her to please come on the Spillover. Then DM today's episode to one person that first clip in the very beginning reminds you of and hit that save button. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Poplitics. Support Poplitics, the first ever conservative pop culture daily show, by subscribing to our channel, turning on notifications, and of course, hitting the thumbs up. Also, our main home is on Instagram. Seriously, just trust me, that's where the real magic happens. Follow us there at Poplitics.